anyone who's a builder out there is no short of ideas and trying to work out the quickest way to test them. And whether to turn left or turn right, and the strategy becomes the most important high leverage exercise that we need to do. You could be building a lot of stuff, but the boat's headed in the wrong way.
Welcome to Prompted. I'm Cameron Adams, and I'm fascinated with leaders who are actually using AI to be more creative than ever before. Today, we're joined by Sherif Mansour, Head of Product Management at Atlassian, where he leads the AI organization. With 20 years of experience shaping products like Confluence and Jira, he is tackling big challenges across Atlassian's cloud suite when he's not running, coaching, youth soccering, or sketching his next cartoon idea. So, Sherif, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Cameron. G'day, everyone.
We have a very unique way of getting to know people on this show, and that is through the prompt. This is where we get you to draw something from your childhood that inspired you while you tell us the story about it, all in 90 seconds. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it. Sharpie's here, ready to go.
I've also heard you're a comic artist, so I'm expecting big things.
Talk it up. So in primary school a lot, while the girls were passing notes in class about who's got a crush on who, me and my mates were often drawing comics. What I loved about this process of drawing comics was the element of surprise and unexpectedness. And so the way we would do it is you would draw a bunch of squares on a page. Each square, you would draw your thing in the square and then pass it on to the next person. And then they would draw their thing. And then at the end, you would get the comic at the end and see how the story progressed. And everyone got to change the narrative when it got to their specific square. So that was definitely gave me a lot of inspiration because you saw how people change stories and mix things up and gave me the unexpected. Sometimes they destroy your character, or sometimes they make your character look a superhero. Everyone always wanted to go first because everyone always wanted to set the scene. So I get to go first in this one. Can I show you what I've done?
Yeah, give it to us.
All right. So it looks usually something like this, and you get to draw the first square. So I've just drawn my little cartoon character there. And he's on air and he's looking a bit nervous in a microphone in front of him. And see where the story takes us. So
I love it. We get to fill in the rest of the squares. This is really cool. I feel like I should have a marker. You should pass the paper over and I can draw the second square.
I'll pass it on to you.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do. We've actually got our in-house designer, Yvonne, who's going to team up with AI to whip your sketch into something new. And we're going to reveal yours, Yvonne's, and AI's creation at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that if you're listening at home. While Yvonne works, let's chat AI. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So you've been at Atlassian now for over 16 years, and you've done everything from working on Confluence to driving a product innovation incubator. I would love to know your journey to AI product building and how it's been different to the rest of your career.
It's reset a bunch of assumptions. Maybe if I rewind back, I think throughout the tail end of high school, I became obsessed with building websites in the late 90s. It's my first job, kind of doing websites for a bunch of businesses around Sydney. And then I moved to web apps. And there's a bunch of assumptions you have back then on how the technology works and what that enables you to do. So I reminded back then of basic sites with then Flash intros came along. You probably remember that era. Well, some of you do. If you want to age yourself, some of you might recognize that. And then all of a sudden forms and dynamic apps and then e-commerce and there's assumptions keep resetting on the stuff you can build. So I went from that to then building a bunch of web apps and then, joined Atlassian 16 years ago. Geez, it's gone like a flash. But and the assumptions have changed.
I heard that you wrote a blog post that someone at Atlassian read. They contacted you to be a product manager and your response was, "What's a product manager?"
Oh, they told you that story. I still have that email. So I was a bit of an Atlassian fanboy, still am, and I wrote a blog about this unique business model they had created. Like who on earth bought business software on a credit card online with transparent pricing? Back then it was unheard of, right? So I thought these guys are either nuts, they're going to go belly up, and the business is not going to take off, or they're onto something genius. And they reached out and said, "Do you want to come and apply for a product management job?" Yeah, and at the time, I looked in our job seek website in Australia and I typed product manager jobs and there was 0 results. And there was a lot in the Valley in California and all that. I remember talking to my wife going, this sounds like a career limiting move. But I was never a good engineer. And if our meeting says you might want to try product management if you're not a good engineer. So I gave that a go. So I've been doing that ever since. And then been working on most of Atlassian apps. And we've gone through several technology shifts of assumptions on we used to ship software behind the firewall before the cloud with no data. Then the cloud came and the assumptions reset and what you could do was quite different. And now a mobile came and then now AI. So how we build our apps, we're kind of resetting our assumptions on what tools we have access to, how smart the app can be. And if you're starting again, you would build the apps quite differently. So we're in this evolution phase of rewriting our apps slowly with the assumption that AI is always there and available.
Did you dive straight into being head of AI, or was it this gradual learning curve of like, oh, we should introduce more AI into this, and suddenly, boom, you're head of AI now?
Yeah, no, I gravitate toward a lot of 0 to 1 projects at Atlassian. And so we've always had an AI team, traditional ML style stuff. But I think 3 years ago, for most of us in the industry, there was another, I like to call it a GDPR-like moment where everyone's roadmaps got reset with this transformer model discovery and then ChatGPT and that came later and what can we do? And so there was a group of us that was a lot of tinkering of what's possible, what does this mean for us, and a lot of learning.
How do you think it's fundamentally changed product management and product development? Like, what does the experience of building products with AI now look like compared to what you were doing 7 years ago?
Crazily different. So there is the whole discovery process, which you've often described as a way to just working out, are we building the right thing? The cost of that discovery process is quite large traditionally, because you typically have someone build something as close as possible to the real thing or find a cheap way to build something, then you end up rewriting it and all that stuff. And I think now with AI, the cost to discover and get feedback is reduced drastically on the concept or the idea you're trying to test, the hypothesis you're trying to validate. And then once you've proven it out and you're building it's a lot quicker now with AI great at generating code, exploring different design options, that happens as well. Then getting customer feedback, similar probably to Canva and many of your listeners, we get thousands of feedback items a day, like tens of thousands. And so how do you analyze that stuff? We used to do that with human eyes and whatever, and now we have AI take a first pass and summarize that for us. So closing those feedback loops are a lot quicker, and then definitely creates a lot of compression, but also helps everyone create more, which I think is the exciting part. I think anyone who's a builder out there is no short of ideas and trying to work out the quickest way to test them and work. Do they work? Did I get it wrong? Or do I need to turn left or turn right? AI is just such an amazing partner in that whole discovery lifecycle.
As the transformer model started coming on the scene, was it existential for you? Were you like, oh crap, there's a bunch of stuff happening that might disrupt us? Or were you like, this is fantastic, this is open opportunity for us?
You always go through waves. So you go through these waves of emotions, even just what it means for society, right? I think everyone goes through these waves of emotions of like, and it's really just about thinking through the implications and trying to understand the trajectory and then play that trajectory forward to then simulate what are the possible implications of it. The worst thing you can do is go into this paralysis mode or feel like, oh, I'm not going to do anything. The best thing you can do, I always say to teams in AI is, or if you're doing anything with AI and you're not sure what to build or, what to do next, define long-term as the next 6 months. So in the next 6 months, is this the next best possible move you could do? And most people are like, oh, absolutely, we should do this. I'm like, well, move ahead because everyone's learning at the same boat. Everyone's moving forward. And so for us, it's been awesome. It's, it's created a ton more opportunities than we could have imagined.
Well, I imagine your experience deep in innovation, like actually looking at innovation and understanding how it performs and how you get more innovation out of your teams probably has stead you in good stead for the last couple of years, at least.
It helps us move a lot faster. As the bigger you get, the slower you're worried about getting. But what AI has enabled is accelerated the speed at which people can make decisions. And I use the phrase a lot with my teams. They hate me. I use the phrase shared brain. How are we going our shared brain? Is someone lagging a bit or is someone ahead? And how are we building that shared brain quickly? And to help with that innovation, we need people to, when we and you're talking about something, we need to be seeing the same thing in our minds. And so AI is an amazing visualization partner that helps us get to that shared brain quicker. No, we mean this, not that. Oh, okay, I was on a different wavelength. So it helps speed up those alignment on the kinds of innovation things that teams can do just across the world. And it's been awesome for that.
I know you embrace it wholeheartedly and you've even brought it into your personal life. You've done some amazing creative projects with your kids. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Honestly, something, Cameron, I tell a lot of leaders to do, which is, leaders are often like, oh, I want my teams to use AI. And you're like, how are you using AI personally? And, it's a start. Most people will start with like, I ask ChatGPT questions. I stopped using Google and now I'm ChatGPT, but it's the same thing. And behavioral change is hard. So how I've been trying to model that behavioral change in my family is just tinker a lot with my kids. I'm fortunate my kids still think I'm cool, although the older one is just at the tail end.
They're always going to think you're cool.
Oh, we'll see. But my son, he loves coding, so he uses Scratch, a visual coding language. So he doesn't like writing code syntax, but he's in the age where he's using the visual language. So he's been going wild with his games, his tower defense games and all that kind of stuff. He uses actually Leonardo to make his sprites for his images for his little games. Most recently, we vibe coded together, built a little money mates tracker kind of app for within our family, track that pocket money. My daughter, she's on the creative side. So she loves music and arts and drawing. Man, I don't know if you've played with Udio or Suno services, Cameron.
Yeah.
I
haven't got too much love out of them because I like going deep on music stuff. But
she goes nuts. So she texted me the other day with she had a neighbor over and I could play the song for you if you want. They wanted ice cream from the fridge and I kept saying no. And then they came back with this AI generated song of like pop style. Can we please have some ice cream in the fridge? And it's just very catchy. So, I mean, after that effort, I had to give her some ice cream. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff together. On the normal side, we have been using AI a lot for homework help. So, I've got an AI that I've just said, hey, you're a Year 6 teacher in New South Wales. The New South Wales school curriculum syllabus. You teach maths very well. And I'll put it in voice mode and I'll say, don't give away any answers. Always help whoever's talking to you to try to get them to work out how to get to an answer. And I'll put on audio mode and we'll walk through some maths questions with my son because my maths is not great as well. So it helps me a lot. When we go on long drives, we just went on a long drive down the South Coast and we'll put AI audio in the car and we'll do do you remember as a kid doing the old choose your own adventure books where you get to page 7 and you're like, if you want to do this, go there. And if you want to do this, go, turn right or whatever.
Yep.
So we'll say we're heading down to Berry in the South Coast. Use some real life streets and sites and museums there or whatever it is. And my name's Sherif, and my super character's ability is to be able to jump through between buildings. And my son and my daughter will say their characters, and then it'll make an adventure story where we're all superheroes heading down the South Coast. And it's just like a really cool way to discover the town. And everyone's yelling out, no, turn left, or no, jump out the window, and to the AI. And it's pretty insane. But yeah, lots of fun stuff.
That is super creative. I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah, works really well.
I was just actually chatting to someone from OpenAI about how study mode evolved in their product. And I'm not sure whether you've tried it, but study mode, it helps you explore topics and learn more about them rather than giving you the answers. Yeah. Sounds like you've kind of concocted your own study mode, but it's deeply ingrained in your relationship with your kids and being part of their learning. How does something like study mode, just in ChatGPT, working with your kids with no intervention feel to you?
I get quite excited about it because it's hyper-personalized. So example is we did a quiz the other day where my son was in a fortnight and I was like, hey, if you get 3 answers right in a row, give him a fortnight trivia quiz answer, right? So you can use it as a motivational tool. One thing that is often not talked about is how AI is a tool for just education. And and you can personalize education for each person. Everyone learns differently. I was always a visual learner. I always struggled with textbooks. Some people are good at maths and sciences. And so you can adapt the learning. So honestly, I think it's incredibly exciting what that will do to a next generation of kids who can better adapt to different styles of learning. AI can better adapt to the different styles of learning to accommodate them.
One of the things that most AI tools at the moment feel like they're in is single player mode. It's you talking to an assistant, you query it, you get an answer from it, you copy and paste that answer to some Slack channel where you're talking to your teammates, or you put it into a document or an email, and then you send that up to someone else, and it is full of friction. What's your view on where AI needs to go in terms of collaboration and making it a true multiplayer experience?
I have this framework internally, always thinking pyramids, must be the Egyptian in me or something, but which is like just the maturity. Like if I talk to a customer about how they're going on the maturity curve, and you always hear like 3 rough stages of the story. Stage number 1 is like, I type things into the AI and I get answers to my questions. Stage number 2 is the aha moment that, wait, it can help do things for me. It can generate that media for me. It could give me a draft idea for a social media post. It could, help design the website for me, whatever it is. Sort of the second stage. The third stage, I think, is really, to answer your question, is like when we start to deploy these, I call them virtual teammates, these new teammates with us in Teams workflows every day, you start to remove that friction of it's just from a personal productivity gain, me chatting to a personal tool, which I think a lot of us will have in our day-to-day personal AI assistants. But in a team, in a work context, you're often trying to work out how to deploy AI to a group of people and how to make the use of that. And so at that level, you're getting an AI agent and you're deploying it in some sort of business workflow. A workflow could be as simple as creative marketing team writing a blog series and they're tracking their the different ideas they want to track, and they might go back and forth with the AI on different topics and different content and all that kind of stuff. People are now feeling more comfortable deploying agents in a collaborative workflow with multiple humans together, collaborating together to get to an outcome. To share examples where it's been working really well, where teams have business workflows already modeled in a system or documentation. So this is what we do when, what's our procurement team at Atlassian review a bunch of contracts all the time. That's their full-time job. And they have a set of knowledge they review the contract with. There's certain clauses they look for, etc. That knowledge is already documented in a tool. And they already got the workflow of someone raises a ticket and it goes through a workflow of reviewing it, etc., coming up with a new proposal, sending it back to the vendor, etc. That's already mapped in an actual system in a workflow. So the companies that are doing amazingly well with AI and they're deploying agents in AI already have a workflow modeled in their business. Famous App Store tracks a lot of app reviews through a workflow system. The apps come in and needs to go through a review process, whatever. And so at each step of the workflow where they've got a business workflow modeled, they're looking going, I could add AI here to either reduce time or maybe increase the creativity or give me different options at this step of the workflow. And so they're adding these virtual teammates at steps of the workflow for specific tasks within that workflow. And that's where we're seeing the most leverage happen. For me, myself, I use a lot of agents in different steps of my workflow. I have an agent that summarizes all my customer feedback about all our AI products into themes on a daily basis. And I read it and make some recommendations. And then it goes and tracks all the work in Jira and all that kind of stuff. And so it's about finding in your daily workflows as a team, the team workflows, the shared workflows, not the personal ones, where can AI jump in and take some of that repetitive work that I can clearly describe and give you the knowledge for so that you can speed this thing up or give me better ideas for this particular step in the workflow.
You've actually done a ton of research in this area, and you recently launched the Atlassian AI Collaboration Index, which is a research report based on surveys of 12,000 knowledge workers across 6 countries and hundreds of different companies. And you've analysed how AI affects teamwork and business outcomes. Seems like most companies have adopted AI, but your research shows that 96% of them haven't seen any major transformation yet. So that means only 4% are reporting real change in efficiency, innovation, or creativity. Is that an accurate representation of what the industry is currently like?
I think it's pretty spot on, dude. I think we see a lot of that. Companies taking the first step where they're saying there is a lot of individual productivity, but it's quite hard to measure. It's like fluffy. People are just getting stuff answered, whatever. But that 4% really is where there's a big difference between those organizations that do that and what everyone else has been doing. But yeah, I would agree with your statement. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that just a matter of time? Like people get used to it, organizations will catch up? Or you think that there needs to be some very directed leadership and learning that needs to happen to actually bridge the gap?
Yeah. Time helps. Education always helps. When any technology shift has happened, I mean, if you think of yourself personally and when mobile came out or when e-commerce came out, how long did it take before you felt using that thing in a work context? And what happened before it? And most of the time you use that thing in a personal context. Like we became comfortable with online shopping personally before it became comfortable in a work context. We're getting comfortable with personal mobile phones before we use mobile phones in a work context. So I do think some of that is personal modeling of that new behavioral change with how we use AI personally. That helps at that time. But I think applying it to the specific leaders that are deploying AI in those organizations, in that large percentage that fail, I think, Cameron, what I often see is like they're looking for a killer use case and trying to discover a new set of problems with AI. They're like, okay, let's see what we can do here the ones that are getting the best impact for maximizing creativity or speeding up a workflow or saving time, they're looking at what are my teams already doing? Like they're coming at the problem from quite a different angle. Like what's my business already doing and where can I improve things? So signals might be like tasks that people are doing, repetitive work, queues of work is often a really good signal. Miscommunication or standards enforcement is pretty big in big companies. They're always like there's standards for risk standards or roadmap standards or whatever it is. And that's often a lot of stuff. So the ones that look at what are the, behavioral change is hard. So like, I don't go to the gym, but people tell me if you go to the gym, it's a pretty hard thing, right? So behavioral change in a team is even harder. So to get a collective group of people to change behaviors is even harder, right? So what can we do to reduce the friction for that behavioral change? Let's look at the behaviors that our team's already doing. So start with that lens, not coming up with some new thing. And then go, all right, for those existing behaviors that they're doing, where are our teams hitting walls? Is it the creative side of this step of the process, or is it the time spent on these reviewing contracts or aggregating customer feedback and trying to come up with proposed next steps from it, et cetera? So I think teams, the organizations that seem to do well are the ones that find existing things that are already happening in their business and audit them and then try to look at them and go, okay, I don't need to do a crazy amount of behavioral change. If just in this step of the process, I can add an agent to do this, or I can add an AI workflow to do that. That's really where the biggest gains are getting. And the sum of feeling the impact of incredible transformation is, we believe these organizations, it's to our people and what our people and what decisions they make and what output they produce. And so what better way to get to that sum total than helping the groups of people, the teams that do that? And that in aggregate has a pretty compounding impact across the organization.
How do you make that change happen? Like, do you just call in all hands and say, hey, everyone, start using AI, look at your workflows? Or do you have a team of AI detectives that goes and sniffs out these problems and helps people automate them? Like, how can you move it forward?
Hey, folks, do more AI. I'm going to set a goal or OKR for AI. That helps, I think, in terms of direction and we're going to mandate AI or whatever it is. What I've seen have the biggest impact, even internally, we ran an AI Builders Week where we had 1,000 people stop what they're doing. So what did we do there? We created some psychological safety in that, one, it wasn't some random person in a team waiting there to find some spare time to geek out on something, then come and tell the team, is it worth their time or not? It was everyone at a synchronized time, we're stopping. So you don't feel guilty about taking time. Two is we're giving people space, and we're giving them space to say that success of this week is learnings. It's not an outcome. You're probably going to get lots of failure. It's just learnings. We're just going to celebrate what you learned. When I pick up a new task, I can try a new way of doing it, which I might not complete the task, but I'll learn a lot. It might take me longer, or it might save me a ton of time, or I can do the old predictable way, but it's very predictable and I know exactly what I'm going to get. We need to create incentives that let people try the new way. And so safety is one, making sure the time is synchronized across all your team members. When I say synchronized so an example for us is we had product managers and designers and engineering leaders pause for a set period of time to tinker. If it was only one of them, there'd be an incredible amount of guilt that, you're blocking the team and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's another big tactic that works really well. And what you find within teams, people want to rethink how they could do their job better. They just haven't had the space. And as leaders, our job is to work out which constraints we want to relax and be okay with that and encourage that behavior and reward learnings. So we would, at the end of the week, would celebrate the biggest fail as a joke, but also as a celebration of the most ambitious project that didn't work. People tried building a bunch of agents to do a crazy amount of stuff and it didn't work, but they learned a ton of stuff and we actually changed a lot in our processes and how our agents work as a result of it. So lots of examples like that.
Yeah, that is a great approach. Creating that safety net that everyone feels they have the time and the space to experiment is fantastic. We actually ran something similar a couple of months ago that we called just AI Week, exactly what it says on the tin. And literally everyone at the company got that week. We set up a whole bunch of learning workshops. They got the entire week to just try out whatever they wanted to, look at the automation workflows, prototype a product that they really wanted to see, and just go crazy on it. And they absolutely loved it. We're actually scheduling the next one very soon.
Yeah, that is awesome. It is, and I'm super glad you did it. We actually had someone from your team come out as well, share some of that learnings with us too. Doing it in that synchronized way where everyone's doing it together creates a massive encouragement for people to just, I always use the phrase tinker. Like, we need to tinker. And when you tinker, it sparks ideas, and then you can work out the best ways to improve a workflow or explore a concept or whatever it is.
The other thing that stood out to me from the Atlassian collaboration report was that people are reinvesting their AI time savings into collaboration, creative thinking, and innovation, not just efficiency. And I'd love to know an example inside Atlassian where you're actually seeing amplification of a team's creativity instead of just automating a task.
It happens a lot. The most recent example from that AI Builders Week we had was the explosion of prototypes that we had on concepts. I think what blew me away, the creativity that came from people that wouldn't normally have had the opportunity to express that concept. So people that may have come from outside the traditional product team or the design team, whatever it is, they now have the tools to express their concepts. And it's been fascinating. And they come with a diverse set of different perspectives because they don't sit in a traditional team. And so like, well, hang on a second, no, I think if we change Jira to do this or Confluence, whatever it is, the concept they want to do, that was incredibly enlightening. So to see that happen, to see that people who didn't have access to specializations or specialist tools, now with AI are becoming creatives themselves. When you see AI used for, we have a marketing AI hacks channel where a lot of marketing folks are sharing the stuff there. When you mix and match the quirkiness of different cultures, we have a lot of like agents inside Atlassian that do funny stuff like translate Aussie slang for non-Aussies, or rewrite content in really heavy Aussie slang to the point where I don't even understand it. I'm like, what is this saying? Like, they'll use AI to be a sparring partner and mix and match multiple concepts, in this case, different geographical languages, to explore ideas for a creative campaign they might launch in an area to try to make that campaign more contextually relevant in a particular region. And so it's that mixing and matching exploration where you would have to have the domain knowledge of those regions or have someone from that region to be able to come up with that spark, but AI can help feed that information for you to help do that.
I think agents can mean a lot of different things to different people, and you've mentioned that you use them internally quite a few times now. Can you actually describe some of the more pivotal AI agents that you've deployed inside Atlassian?
Yeah, absolutely. We, by the way, I define them really simple as an AI instruction, an AI knowledge, and AI skills. And the three things combined, you would call that an agent. You've specialized that thing there. So, for me personally, or our product teams, I should say, there are 3 or 4 big ones. So, for example, we have anyone meeting with a customer interacts with our Customer 360 agent. We have hundreds of weekly users that use that. And what that does is it's an agent that integrates with a ton of internal systems to give you one picture of the customer. So we have systems that have the customer CSAT, another system that tracks proposals and RFPs from that customer. Then we have Slack channels dedicated for each customer as well, and there's conversations happening there. So when I'm about to meet with a customer, I'm like, give me the brief. Who's talked to them recently? What are the top things I need to know? And it produces a report for me, attaches it to my calendar. I can come in prepped and doing that. We have a customer feedback agent for analyzers. I think I mentioned that one earlier. A lot of the teams here deploy their own in-app feedback contextually. So on any feature, someone might give a thumbs down or a thumbs up, or they might hit a feedback button. We get tens of thousands of these each week. And so how do we find the big trends, identify them, and prioritize them on our backlog? That is largely now an agent that helps humans facilitate throughout that whole process. Automatically posting a summary to the team every day in their chat room, creating a report in Confluence, putting new ideas in their backlog in whatever Jira, whatever there is they're using, etc. And so that happens there as well.
That Customer 360 agent sounds really cool. What was the development process for that? Like, was it a big, here's all the data we're going to pull in and we need to map out the workflow and we need to pull all that together using code? Or was it just one person randomly firing up a GPT or something?
It's definitely a little bit on more the complicated side because of the amount of internal systems. So we have, one of the things we have in our offering is just customers can connect their data. So the thing we all customers need to get right is get your data in shape. AI is only as good as the data it has access to. So you need to connect your data to a central system. So people connect it all the way to Rovo. And then the agent can now have access to that data. What's amazing about that is that's permissioned per user. So if I don't have access to some certain Slack channels or some Google documents where this customer information was discussed, I'll get a tailored result, which is quite different to your result. And we had our IT team work through that and set that up for all the account managers and the customer facing teams, the product managers at Atlassian, and they all have access to now doing that. Some have put it in their automated workflows as well. So they'll put it in as part of their calendaring process or some of them will just chat to it ad hoc, which is like, I'm about to meet with this customer, give me the brief and all that kind of stuff. So getting the data in shape is a big part of that ingredient I always say it's two things, it's data and workflows to make agents successful. Not every agent needs access to all the data. You just need to be clear on what needs access to what. But it's really those two things are the two big ingredients. And the workflows and how you deploy in your team is the one that gives you the operating rhythms and the regular frequency to get the most out of those agents.
You can now get a whole lot more done. Like you got access to way more information. It's going out, it's doing its own research, it's bringing it in. Sometimes it feels like now we're the bottleneck. Like all this information is coming in, you got agents coming at you, they're feeding you all these signals, and now you have to make a decision about it or you have to take some action from it, and the queue is just, queuing up. How do you deal with that?
It relates to the topic of like people concerned about what about AI jobs as well, and there'll be a lot of job change as well. But you're spot on. There's more work to do. There's a lot more work to do. I was talking to a friend of mine who runs a radiology clinic in Sydney, and they've just upgraded their systems to be Gen AI driven. The throughput the system can get through now to do a prioritization order of all the healthcare folks seeking healthcare coming in, it's getting through a lot more. The result, he's had to hire more radiologists to put them on board to review that, et cetera, because there's always a human in the loop and do that. But AI does an amazing job and help us prioritize. So there's more people coming in and doing that. But the same thing, you're spot on with our product teams. So we're getting a lot more coming in. So then what's then more important then for product or software teams to focus on? Really, it's around directing the ship and the strategy becomes the most important high leverage exercise that we need to do. And so if you're getting more and more stuff coming through, you need to make sure that everyone's rowing, the boat's headed in the right way. You could be building a lot of stuff, but the boat's headed in the wrong way. And so I always tell teams here, your product development life cycles are getting faster. Therefore, your strategic direction, before you had time, like as in you had a bit more time to be like, a few months we'll try this and then we'll turn left and then we'll turn right. That's been compressed a bit more depending on what you're doing. And so ensuring that we're course correcting on a regular basis, which is, again, the importance of having humans in the loop reviewing the AI's work, becomes a critical part in helping making sure we're directing our virtual teammates and our human teammates in the right thing. Will we be a bottleneck? Yeah, we will be a bottleneck. But the reality is we want to make sure that the ship is, headed in the right direction rather than just, heading. The worst thing we could do is feel like we're the bottleneck and keep scattergunning everything without any sense of direction, and then we'll just be going around in circles.
Feels like a level shift in the type of work we're doing. And I think you referred to your whole career as moving from building things to architecting things. And it feels like everyone is now being pushed up more towards the architecture end of the spectrum. What do we need to enable our teams to become architects and to learn the proper skills of architecture?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I would say teams move from doing the thing to architecting the thing. And so what makes a good architect? Well, one is that they can describe how they would like something done, and they can describe why doing that thing is important. The why becomes more important because if we're all describing the same thing, we end up with what we call AI slop. Everyone just ends up getting, the classic example, if you type the same prompt in the 5-6 different LLM tools out there, you'll get almost 80% the same. It's really the effort and how well you articulate what it is you're after. And your taste comes through in that. So the architect's not only great at communicating, they're great at expressing the why and their taste behind that. Especially in the early days of agents, they're the ones that are very good also in showing the agent how to do something. It's one thing to say, go and analyze 1,000 customer feedback tickets and then tell me the top themes. But you'll get a much better outcome for like, here is what I mean by analyze the 1,000 customer tickets. Step 1, I want you to read the title and the summary, and then I want you to create a classification system. And step 2, I want you then to then group all the common things into a classification system. And I want you to rate them by high severity. Like that's the nuance that matters for those architects. And so it's really around getting the teams, again, to document their workflows. like how they do their work and how that works well. And those teams that are already doing that, whether in documentation or whatever, are already in a fairly good step ahead in architecting AI to work for them.
Looking to the future, in your own report, executives predicted that by 2030, only a third of work will be fully done by humans. So what does this actually mean for creative industries, for product building industries? Is the future about fewer people, or is it about new kinds of creativity?
I don't know about you, Cameron, but I'm guessing the team at Canva has a lot more ideas they want to build than actual people do. Is that a fair assumption?
That would be a fair assumption.
Yeah. That's man, we are no short of things we want to do. We continue to grow. So I think you're spot on. It absolutely means, but that the companies that want to continue to grow will continue to grow because they've just got so many opportunities ahead of them. There are many companies that will be created because of these opportunities, like a whole bunch of new industries that will be established as a result of it. And at the same time, AI will help train the next workforce as well. Like we often go into this cycle of like, oh, okay, so then what happens with junior folks? Like, oh, do I only need senior architect-y folks? No, actually, AI is an amazing teacher. As someone who hires a lot of product managers at Atlassian, our hiring profiles, I'm thinking of like shifting how we hire, where, to put quite bluntly, I want the kids that have been cheating on their assignments at university with ChatGPT. Like, they're AI native. Like my son, who I was telling you earlier, who was using Scratch coding, he's gone from Scratch straight to Vibe coding. He hasn't had that window of like coding in actual syntax. He's going to grow up in that just that native world where natural language is the coding language, right? So I think that whole workforce for us is exciting because one, those that have high agency and are willing to learn are in an amazing position to make the most of it. And for businesses out there, you're going to be able to get a lot more with the folks that you have.
Well, you heard it here, folks. If you're cheating on your exams, apply for a job at Atlassian. I think that's enough diving deep. I'd love to change gears with you and talk about your all-star creative team. So in this challenge, we get you to pick 4 people, any era, any universe, dead or alive, put them together, build your dream creative team. Who would you pick?
Oh, 4 people. I would pick, my wife anything that I try to do, any sort of interior design or landscaping, whatever, I think I have taste. And then I chat to her. I'm like, oh man, I like your taste better. So I'm going to throw my wife in there. I was watching the Spider-Man movie with my son. Man, I loved whoever animated that. It was just a different style of animation. I wouldn't have a clue.
Oh, it was mold breaking. It's a brilliant piece of work.
Yeah, and the music was off the charts too. Like it was just one of those, just incredible work of art, like that movie. So whoever worked on that, from bring people from the dead, I'm going to bring back Jesus Christ. He can pop some miracles and create some beautiful scenery for us. I'll bring him as well. Oh, Johnny Ive. I mean, if I can pick anyone, I'll bring Johnny as well. Good old mate Johnny. He's done a couple of things in design as well. I'll throw him in there too.
All right. I don't know how Jesus and Johnny Ive would get along, but I'm fascinated to see what the workflow looks like.
With a lot of love.
Well, thank you for outlining your creative team. That was some good picks. I think it's time to bring back Yvonne. She's had a bit of time to work with your little comic sketch, and I am keen to see what she has filled the other 5 boxes with.
Okay, hello.
How did you go?
I just finished it. So thank you for sharing your story. I hope this creation does it justice. I thought about the story you mentioned about your daughters wanting ice cream. So there's some elements of that in this very interesting world.
You paid attention to everything, Yvonne. I don't know how you worked and listened. Let's see what you've made.
All right, I hope you enjoy this.
Yvonne, that is amazing. Wow.
That's it.
What a spectacular piece of storytelling. You had everything in there from little Sherif crafting away in classrooms through to the worlds coming to life and just brought it home with the ice cream. Incredible.
That is
Yes,
amazing.
has to end with an ice cream monster, doesn't it? For the theatrics.
Strawberry vanilla, it looks like.
If you're listening on the podcast, definitely head over to the show notes. We'll link Yvonne's amazing creation describing basically all of Sherif's life in 30 seconds. We'll give you the link and you can check it out yourself. Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Thank you, Sherif, for joining us on this episode of Prompted AI People in the Creative Spark. It has been amazing having you here and talking about all things collaboration, ice cream, and scratch coding.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, everyone. See you, folks.
And for all those listeners at home, please subscribe wherever you love to listen or head on over to YouTube. Until next time, keep chasing that creative spark.